Hey there, it's Shauna. I hope you're doing great. This is your weekly astrology forecast for July 24th. And this week is all about balancing work and play. So this week you'll have opportunities to get a little work done, to be more practical, so to speak, but then you can also benefit when you integrate some play time into there too. So I'll share with you the astrology of this week, how to use it, and then I have 3 tips for you to have an amazing week. So the first aspect that's happening this week involves the planet Venus. And so Venus is in the sign of Gemini. Venus is already about connection, it's about partnership, and it's about how we relate to others. So a big part of this, and the reason why Venus is also related to money and resources, is that at a deeper level, Venus tells us what it is that we value. And so this relates to the literal value that you put on things, the resources, the financial aspects of your life. And then it also relates to how you spend your emotional energy, which is the partnerships that you have. Who in your life gets your attention? Those are your relationships. And how does that work? So Venus is going to oppose Saturn, and it's going to sextile Uranus this week. So these are 2 very different energies. First it'll be Saturn and then Uranus. And so Saturn is about devotion, it's about creating structure and a solid foundation. So Venus opposing Saturn, there may be like a certain level of tension, or maybe sometimes it can feel like a limitation or a restriction. And so I encourage you to look at if there is any area in your life where you could benefit from looking at boundaries in your relationships. Or maybe there's something where a foundation is going to be reviewed, is going to be looked at. Saturn is also about foundational issues. It's about reality checks, like what works, what doesn't work, and that kind of thing. So the other aspect of this is that Venus will sextile Uranus, and Uranus is about shaking things up, changing it around a little bit. It's also about unexpected surprises. And so this is like, there's 2 different kind of things happening here. There's an element of devotion, there's an element of engaging with what is real, engaging with what works and what doesn't, and like looking at things in a more practical way. And then with Uranus, it's about like what can happen differently here, what can be shifted, or where is there an opportunity by looking at things differently. So again, this can relate to any kind of partnership. It can also just be like how you connect with people in general, like what is your approach to relating, and you know, also finances too. So the big thing is that Venus is in the sign of Gemini, so I would imagine it's going to involve human connection in some way. The other thing that's happening this week that relates to this is the Sun will conjunct Mars this week, and this is in the sign of Leo, and Leo is all about giving and receiving appreciation. And so I wonder if those kinds of themes will come up for this week, and how it is that you want to use that energy in your life now. Maybe there's a deeper level of connection that can happen in relationships when you express from a place that is more authentic. And I know that sounds really cliche, but that's what Leo is all about. Leo is about self-expression from the heart. Authentic, really it's about authentic communication. And so we'll have opportunities to work with that a little bit this week. So that leads me to the 3 tips that I have for you this week. So the first tip is to connect with others and to share yourself with others. And this is really embracing that Venus in Gemini and the Sun in Leo energy. So this is definitely a week to connect. It's a week to put yourself out there, so to speak. It is not that something bad will happen, but it's not really conducive to going into your cave and introverting all week. I mean, if you need to do that, of course, take your time, but I would encourage you to push your boundary a little bit around around putting yourself out there and connecting with new people or connecting with the people in your life now at a deeper level. And that can look like just sharing a little bit more than you might normally, maybe volunteering a little bit more of yourself than you normally would. And you might be surprised at how people respond. So that's tip number 1, to connect with others and to share yourself. Tip number 2 is to contemplate your relationship style this week. So this is again involving this Venus theme of relating. So you could even do a little bit of journaling around this, or you could just kind of keep it in the back of your mind as you're moving through life this week. I don't want you to think necessarily about your relationships, but I want you to think about how it is that you relate to people. When you meet someone new, or when you come home, or when you're at work, like what is the instinctual role that you take on? And maybe it's different, and depending on where you are, but do you take on a role of being a helper? Do you take a role of being a nurturer? Do you take the role of leader? Do you take the role of the person that needs help? At an extreme level, this could be like, do you take the role of victim, or do you take the role of bossy, or whatever? And none of these are good or bad. But I want to get you stewing on how it is that you relate. And as you go through life, when things come up this week, you may want to, there may be opportunities to strengthen that or to tweak it, or I don't know, maybe you like it, maybe you don't, maybe you want to change things. But that is a focus this week, is how that you relate. So that's tip number 2, to contemplate your relationship style. Tip number 3 is to put this into practice. So leave me a comment below and let me know how this week you will connect with others, how you will share yourself. And it can be very dramatic in typical Leo fashion, or it can be something really subtle. Some examples would be like sharing something with a partner that you've been scared or hesitant to share, or maybe you tell your parents about some new interest that you haven't wanted to because they think it's weird, or maybe you tell a friend about a struggle that you've been going through but didn't want to share because you weren't sure how they would respond. It could be anything like that. It could even just be like sharing something creative that you've been working on that you haven't shared with someone, or volunteering a little more personal info with a coworker. Keep it PG and stuff, of course, but the whole goal of this is I want to hear from you. Leave me a comment and let me know how you're going to share yourself more with the world, because that's really what we need. We need you to be you, and we don't need you to be perfect. We just need you to be yourself. And again, I know that sounds cheesy, but it's so true. So I look forward to hearing from you. If you want to go more into these topics, if you want to hear me talk more about the astro and geek out about it, you can listen to the podcast that I co-host with my astro friend Mel of Energetic Principles. It's called the Feminine Principle Podcast, Astrology for Authentic Living. And I'll have a link below for that on iTunes. And then also, if you want to get a reading with me, this is the last week to book the reading with that special that I'm running for July for my birthday month. So if you book it this month, even if you can't schedule it until August, I'll still honor that price. So this is the last week to do that. So I'm sending you so much love and wishing you an amazing week, and I'll connect with you soon. Namaste.